Hello everyone and welcome back to AV Chess Lab. In today's video we're going to cover the game between Steinitz and Bardeleben, played in Hastings in 1895, and it features one of the most stunning rook sacrifices I have ever seen, so stick around. In this game we have a very standard classical opening. We have e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, and here we play the move c3, getting ready to strike in the center with d4. Black continues to develop, putting pressure on the pawn on e4. White strikes in the center anyway. We have capture a pawn, bishop b4 check, and knight to c3. Notice that white has a very strong center. So black decides in this situation to go for a d5, a direct attack. But a better move would have been to simply capture on e4, after which castles, bishop takes on c3, d5, bishop f6, rook e1, 97, and rook takes e4. This position, although white has a very strong lead in development, his compensation for the pawn is not enough. So in the game, after the move to d5, e takes d5, knight takes d5, white castles, and black plays bishop to e6. Taking advantage of the fact that you can take the pawn is not good for black. If knight takes on c3, black simply loses after pawn takes, bishop takes, and queen to b3. Now both the pawn on f7 and the bishop on c3 are in the air. So bishop continues with black continues with bishop takes a1, and after bishop takes f7, king to f8, bishop a3 check, knight to e7 protecting the check, bishop h5 threatening checkmate. So the move g6 has to be played. Now knight to g5, again renewing the threat of checkmate on f7, queen to e8, but after rook to e1, this knight's going to be lost, and after the queen sacrifices itself for the piece on e7, we're going to deliver checkmate on f7 anyway. So in the game, after castles, the move bishop to e6 was played. Here the game continues with bishop to g5 and bishop to e7. Another approach to this position would have been to play queen to d7 instead of bishop e7, but it leads to the same position with the move behind. So after the traits on d5, rook e1, bishop to e7, knight takes on d5, queen takes, bishop takes, and knight takes. So it's the same position as in the game, but a move behind. Instead, after bishop to e7, everything gets traded on d5, and we have the same position as in the previous analysis, but here it is black to play. f6 is played in the game, queen to e2, and queen to d7. But I want to take a step back, because queen to e2 was actually kind of an inaccuracy. Another continuation here, and a stronger one, would have been to go queen to a4, after which c6, queen a3. It's very hard to stop the threat on e7. So the queen goes back, but after rook takes e7, queen takes e7, rook e1 simply wins the queen. So that wouldn't have worked. So, but queen e2 was played in the game, queen to d7, and rook c1, a move that sort of throws away the advantage that white had in the game. But black plays c6, and here we have a very strong pawn sacrifice. Pawn to d5. The idea of this pawn sacrifice is that now we have the square on d4, which one occupied with the knight. So after pawn takes, knight to d4, now renewing some threats like knight to f5, winning the knight on e7. Notice that at no time can this king castle. If we ever decide to castle, we just take the knight on e7. So after knight to d4, king to f7 is played, knight to e6, with the threat of simply going rook to c7 and queen to g4, winning the game. So here rook h8 is played and queen to g4, hitting not only the pawn on g7, but some discover attacks with knight to g5 check, which in some instances can pick up the queen on d7. So for that reason, g6 is played, And here knight to g5, and the only move to save the queen is to go king to e8. And here comes one of the most stunning rook sacrifices in the history of chess. So if you want to find this for yourself, pause the video and see if you can find the right continuation. I will give you a couple of seconds. Okay, so coming back into the game here, rook takes e7 was played, and king to f8. Now let's take a quick look at what happens if this rook is captured. After queen takes e7, we simply win the game with rook takes c8, rook takes c8, queen takes c8, and we're going to be up a piece. If the king takes on e7, we have a couple of options here to win the game. Queen to b4 check, king to e8, rook e1 check, king to d8, knight e6, and we're just gonna win the queen, and the square on e1 is protected by two pieces, both the queen and the rook. So once the queen takes, we can take, and this is not checkmate because this rook can simply return and protect. Another continuation instead of queen to b4 is to go rook to e1 check, king to d6, queen b4, king c7, knight to e6, king to b8, but this loses after queen to f4, rook c7, and after that rook e8 is checkmate. So in the game, king to f8 had to be played. The rook couldn't be taken. But notice that everything is hanging and there is a back rank checkmate. But here the sacrifices continue, and here comes rook to f7. And notice that it's the same. If the queen captures, we capture on c8 first, and then we take the queen. And obviously the king in this situation cannot capture the rook because it's protected by the knight. So the king goes back to g8. If the king returns to e8 here, then we simply capture the queen with checkmate. So after king to g8, rook to g7, sacrificing the rook again. And the same idea. If the king captures, we capture on d7 with check and win the game. And if the queen captures, we capture the rook on c8 with check again, and we're going to be up a piece. So here, king to h8, and not king to f8. King to f8 will lose the game after knight takes h7, king takes, and queen takes d7. So rook takes h7, king to g8, and here the opponent resigned because of the very beautiful combination that follows. So again, if you want to pause the video and find the checkmate after king to g8, you have a couple of seconds. Okay, so here rook to g7 is played, and again the king has to return to h8. If king to f8, we have the same as in the previous example. King goes to f8 and we give this check. The king takes and we take on d7. So for this reason, king to h8 had to be played as in the game. And here we go, queen h4, captures, queen to h7, and this leads to a series of checks that eventually pushes the king to the desired d8 square. And here we can finish the game with this beautiful checkmate on d6. Hope you guys enjoyed this game and can appreciate how beautiful the rook sacrifice along the 7th rank was. If you like content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. As always, stay safe, have a great day, and show respect to your opponent. See you next time.